shooting up in the air, and looks like he actually takes aim for a second at one of the police officers was there in the car. And then you see, I mean, the footage from the car that actually smashes into him, you see them come up, hit him, and then smash into the wall, and then you see the damage to the windshield, and that's about all you see. The video from the other one, you see the car sling in, and you see the guy go flying into the air. And it's fortunate for the alleged criminal that he got knocked up in the air, because otherwise he would have been pinned up against a freaking brick wall that's a divider between driveways, it looked like. It did damage to the car. Had he been stuck between that and the car when he went through it, then there's no way that I can imagine that he would have survived that. In my mind, that is excessive. I don't see too many ways to justify that. Again, I asked the question at the Tap Into the Truth Facebook page today. I put a link there. So if all else fails for you, go ahead and go to Tap Into the Truth Facebook page. That's TAPP, Into the Truth. And you can find a link to that. And several of the stories we'll talk about tonight, and a few more that we haven't talked about or won't get to tonight. But you can find the video, and you can see it there. This guy had proven himself to be violent, and ordinarily I don't have sympathy for violent criminals. Most of the time, whatever ends they meet, they have went out and they have asked for. You do bad things to people, bad things are going to happen to you. It's that simple. But this has nothing to do with sympathy for the criminal in this case, as much as it is, would this cop have a similar reaction with anyone else? It's real easy for things to escalate in these situations. Now, most law-abiding citizens aren't going to go walking down the street and firing the rifle into the air in neighborhoods, especially if they've been involved with criminal activity before. Well, then they're not law-abiding citizens. But anyway, you see a police officer coming, you tend not to shoot your firearm into the air. It's just common courtesy. But this excessive use of force, it's just one more black eye to one of the toughest professions that are out there. When you're standing on that thin blue line, you are a genuine, honest-to-goodness American hero. You're unsung, you're underpaid, you're definitely underappreciated, you're made out to be the enemy of a lot of folks just because they think that they should be able to get away with what to them is minor crimes, whether it's smoking pot or partying and drinking underage or what have you. Oh, you're the man, you're terrible, you're horrible. But I don't see anybody calling a crackhead when they need help. Oh, my house just got broken into. Call the local crackhead, he'll help. No, you call the cops. And you don't do it just because that's their job. You do it because you need someone there who's trained, who can investigate, who can, if necessary, hopefully, use a firearm in an effective manner to help protect you. That doesn't negate the fact that you need to have training in firearms of your own in the event that you're in a situation where someone is bearing down on you and you have to react immediately, because it's far better to be able to defend yourself than to have to wait for a police officer. Some of us are lucky enough to live in a neighborhood where the police are only moments away. Some of us live in neighborhoods where the police are 20 to 30 minutes away, if we're lucky. So the cop's not the end-all. Be prepared to take responsibility for yourself. That's something I've always said. But we've got to stop this mentality of hating the police, because the police are not our enemies. Again, we all know a bad cop. We've all had interactions with a bad cop. Some of us maybe even know multiple bad cops within a certain individual police force. And if that's the case, there's just a few things that you have that you can do. but take a legal route. And remember, please don't let that poison your mind towards all police officers. I know. I've said it before. Tough job. Doing the best they can. Let's give them the respect. Let's not let stories like these taint our ideas about all police. That's all I'm saying. But if you do have comments you'd like to share, like I said, if you're listening live, you can hop over directly at Spreaker.com. Listening to the show there, you can hop into the chat room, and I'd be happy to hear your comments there, as well as anything that you want to do. You can send the messages directly to TTAP at tapintothetruth.com, or you can go directly to tapintothetruth.com, or you can go to the Facebook page. You can send messages there if you like. Any messages worthwhile, hey, I'll be happy to read them on the air before we're done. But it is nasty. And speaking of law enforcement, also getting a black eye. You know, the DEA technically is still law enforcement. I say that like that because sometimes it's genuinely hard to tell. It became even harder to tell today when, while testifying in front of the House committee, the current chief of the DEA basically said that she can't really fire her people. See, it kind of stems from the fact that the Secret Service, a little while back in 2012, they got involved with this prostitution scandal back when they were in Colombia. Yeah, we all heard about that. Nobody really got fired, but a lot of folks got in trouble. Well, another federal agency, that's right, the DEA, got in hot water over another sex scandal of their own. Also in Colombia, it seems they were having these sex parties with prostitutes. But the administrator of the Drug Enforcement Administration, Michelle Leonhardt, this past Tuesday, she was in front of the House Oversight Committee, and she was basically interrogated for 3 hours because they wanted to know what was going on when they read the Inspector General's report that found DEA agents in Bogota had engaged in sex parties with prostitutes, and that these parties were paid for by the very drug cartels that the DEA was sent to fight. The behavior's unacceptable. No duh. Okay, I've got to take an unexpected break. Hang on with me for just a moment, and when we get back, we'll be right back. Stay with me.
Turned out that I really don't know how to have love, how to let love go. Fell into a really bad place, saying what we can so that we feel safe. Woke up on the floor. Time begs for more. She says I'm jaded, but I would hate it if she thought any other way. Coming closer, call you a lover, but you've become my escape. Try to be sober when I'm around her, but I enjoy life that way.
All right, very sorry about that. Had a unexpected need to take a break. Sometimes that happens. Outside interference. Had a very important message I had to deal with. Anyway, apologies. Now, we were talking about the DEA, weren't we? They were involved with these drug parties, right? They're in Bogota, Colombia, and guess what? the very drug cartels that they're supposed to be there trying to stop are paying for these parties. Now, of course, Miss Leonhardt said that, quote, this behavior is unacceptable. Well, of course it's unacceptable, for crying out loud. She continued by saying, it's my hope that the additional training and guidance, get that? Training and guidance, that we have provided to all personnel, particularly those stationed overseas, will prevent similar incidents from occurring in the future. Now, naturally, the Oversight Committee was not particularly impressed with that. And in fact, this is one of the few times where both Democrats and Republicans sitting on this Oversight Committee seemed to be rather upset. In fact, they seemed to even become more incensed than they were to begin with. Not at the infraction itself, or at least not only at the infraction itself, but also by the weak discipline that was meted out to the still unnamed participants. Seems the worst any of them got was a 2-week suspension. Hello, suspended with pay, I might add. Hello, you're going to get a 2-week paid vacation because you were involved in illegal and illicit activities in a foreign land paid for by people you're supposed to be stopping. She was asked point blank, do you have any idea how absurd all of this sounds to an ordinary human being? Not just an ordinary American citizen, but an ordinary human being. She repeatedly explained that the, quote, maze of civil service systems protections for government workers prevented her from firing federal employees. She was accused of simply looking the other way. Quote, that's what's happening in your agency. You're protecting the people who solicited prostitutes, who had 15 to 20 sex parties, went through this whole operation, and used taxpayers' money to do it. The Department of Justice Inspector General's report released last month found that corrupt local police officers in Bogota arranged for the sex parties with prostitutes that were funded by local drug cartels for the DEA agents and their government-leased quarters. And they did this over a period of several years. The report also found that, quote, although some of the DEA agents participating in these parties denied it, the information in the case file suggests they should have known the prostitutes in attendance were paid with cartel funds. The report also claimed that the local police protected the DEA agents' property, including weapons, computer, and smartphones, while the parties were ongoing. None of the devices was believed to have been compromised. Under tough questioning from one of my personal heroes, Mr. Trey Gowdy of South Carolina, she also denied knowing whether any of the prostitutes were underage. Quote, I don't know that. That's a heck of a quote, isn't it? I don't know that. The response, of course, prompted a very frustrated Trey Gowdy to shout, you have to work with agents over whom you can't discipline and have no control, and you have no control over their security clearance? What the hell do you get to do? That's kind of why I like Trey Gowdy. He doesn't mince words, he doesn't play around. The report also said the behavior exposed agents to possible coercion, extortion, and blackmail. Which is understandable. You get caught up in something like that, well, then you've opened yourself up to a lot of potential extortion, haven't you? According to another one of the representatives there, Representative Lynch, told Leonhardt that he wants the unnamed agents involved to be named and shamed.